It is well documented that speed is life in order to battle this global pandemic. During this episode, I'm honored to be joined by Ramin Bastani, the CEO of Healthvana, to learn how his digital platform is rapidly delivering COVID-19 test results and how he and his company are already preparing for the upcoming vaccination rollout. I look forward to having you a part of this critically important conversation and to learn how Healthvana is serving health practitioners and patients with its mission to help eliminate COVID-19 with their rapid test result deployment technology and beyond.
Welcome to Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli, where we highlight and speak with the innovators, the game changers, and the pioneers who are deeply passionate and relentless in solving the problems our world is facing today. This is your opportunity to connect with and learn from these leaders and to support them on their mission. Perhaps they will soon be hearing your story as well. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you on this journey with us.
Ramin, a big welcome to our podcast, my friend. I'm glad you're here today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm eager to dive into our conversation as I always get excited to learn from entrepreneurs who expand their business in order to solve immediate and new problems in front of our society, just like COVID-19. But before we dive in, a bit of housekeeping. While listening to any of our episodes, please take a moment and visit passionatepioneers.com in order to share your feedback and ideas. Simply scroll to the comments section at the bottom of each posted episode. And lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you will automatically receive episode updates in your podcast player. Simply search Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Ramin, first I want to start with an introduction. You have so much great experience with Healthvana and what you guys have been doing for a number of years. We're then going to talk about how you took the business, you expanded it to really help fight this virus and really help continue to move our nation forward to a healthier state. But before we dive into that work, current state, and where you guys are heading with Healthvana, go ahead and take us back, Ramin. Give us a little bit of that historical lens into the organization, how it got going, and then we'll go look current state and into the future.
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur. I think that's probably the best place to start. And anytime I saw a problem, if I could help solve it, I knew it would probably impact others. And so not unique to me, but I got into healthcare and technology because I was taking care of a family member before they passed away for a number of years. So I got to see a lot of different parts of healthcare, both the good and the bad. And the one part that was most frustrating was the fact that there was a lack of transparency when it came to getting access to your information, specifically your test results. And even more specifically, those ones that, you had an immense amount of anxiety around, right? Waiting for cancer results to come back, things that are serious. And a lot of times you would hear this idea of no news is good news, or we'll call you only if something's wrong. But as a patient, as a human being, you want to get that information at your fingertips as fast as possible. And so that eventually led to the work we do at Healthvana.
Well, let's talk about that. So how many years ago was that? How did you bring the team together? Give us that startup story, how it all came to be, because I know a lot of our community loves to learn from leaders like you. How the heck did you take an idea and execute against it to create a company that is Healthvana?
Yeah, we work with some really great people, a lot of trials, seeing how things work, how things didn't work. We initially started our work in direct to consumer, and we saw that wasn't working. Switched our focus to business to consumer, which is what a lot of digital health companies did a few years ago. The journey with Healthvana started about 5 or 6 years ago, and we had to navigate through healthcare and figure out how it all came to be. And we've been really lucky to attract people who are excited about the same kind of work we do, and that's making an impact on patients' lives and people's lives. We're all patients. Our family members go through being patients. And if there's a way to make that experience better or even delightful for patients in a way that not only is good for them, but also benefits the healthcare provider in reducing their workload, it's a win-win and something we get excited about.
And why we're here today on the podcast, Ramin, is something that's near and dear to my heart, is how can our entrepreneurs, how can our innovators continue to work to move our nation forward during these incredibly trying times that is this pandemic? And so you said it earlier, you and the team have been around now for 5+, 6-ish years. You were building a great business and continue to do so, but then you expanded it and you expanded into, helping with COVID-19. Give us a little bit of a lens into where did the light bulbs go off? When did that happen? Obviously we went into a lockdown as a society back in March of 2020, but when did the light bulbs go off for you and the company that said, you know what, we need to expand in this. Give us a little bit of that inside look as well.
Yeah, our goal the last 5 or 6 years has been to help end HIV. And we're the largest software platform acting as almost like a CRM for clinics that work with patients who are HIV positive or those that are at risk of HIV and take a drug called PrEP that if you take it daily will reduce your chances of getting HIV. So we delivered tens of millions of lab results of the most sensitive protected health information to patients in that way. And so all of that work over the last few years has helped oddly prepare us for something like COVID-19. So in mid-April, we got a message from some folks that run the city of Los Angeles. And their problem at the time was a lot of people were getting tested and they were having a tough time getting those test results out to patients. And they'd heard about our work and being able to deliver sensitive information in a HIPAA compliant way. And they were making, 50 hours plus of phone calls a day with paramedics and other folks that were standing up these testing sites. And they were doing an incredible job. I mean, all these different people who run municipalities have done an incredible job just getting it going. But we came in and within about a week, they were making 0 phone calls, Mike. Our software makes it easy for patients to interact with their healthcare provider, in this case, a municipality that's running a drive-through testing site for COVID-19, so that they don't have to call because they're going to get their results on their phone in a way that's easy to understand and makes their lives a lot easier.
And it says on your site, which is incredible, like you mentioned, you started expanding towards this in April of 2020. Here we are recording this podcast in October of 2020. And on your site, it says, we've helped more than 2.5 million patients get their COVID-19 test results on their mobile phone. That is unbelievable growth and unbelievable reach in a very short amount of time. Now, Ramin, what does that mean in practicality? Now, I'm getting my results as a patient. That's great. But how are we using these results? What is this meant to do? How is this helping advance the health of our nation during this pandemic?
Yeah, I think there's 3 words we kind of live by right now as a team, and it's speed is life. And the most critical thing is for COVID-19 is to be able to know your status really quickly. And that'll change your behavior if you find out you're positive. And you'll then be able to notify family members, people even in close contact with you who've tested positive, that they may also want to self-isolate or consider getting tested. So that's a lot of what we're doing. And we're so proud of the work we've been able to do. And we're approaching about 3 million results delivered to patients now. And we're doing that by way of working with really incredible organizations like the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, Miami-Dade County, the New York City school districts. There's a number of different organizations we work with, whether they're local governments, large employers, schools, skilled nursing facilities, to kind of deploy everything I mentioned about speed is life to help them, stem outbreaks and get information to patients fast.
And can you walk our community through a little bit, Ramin, to help better understand how this works? Because we're going to discuss how we can all get involved and bring this to our own respective communities. But here I am, a patient. I have this on my phone. That's great. But can you talk about the other side of this experience? How are people that are administering the test having this technology? Who has it on the other side? And how does that work?
Yeah, great question. I'll start with the patient actually to explain that a little bit better. You don't need an app. So let's say you go and get tested in Denver at a drive-through or wherever you end up going. What generally happens is 3 steps in the process. Number 1 is you're registering online and scheduling a visit. Number 2, you show up and that sample goes off to the lab. Number 3, we integrate with that lab in a way where we get that information, rely upon it, and then send you a text or an email saying, hey, Mike, your results are available. Please click on this secure link. You click on the link, you enter your date of birth, and within about 15 seconds, you have access to your test results. So that's what it works on the patient side. It's really fast, easy to screenshot. It's easy to share with a healthcare provider or anyone else you need to. On the other side of it is the admin side. So whether that's a COVID compliance officer at a production for a movie or some sort of TV show or a municipality, they use the dashboard to help them see, okay, how many people tested positive for COVID-19 at this particular site today, right? How many of those patients are positive but have not yet viewed their results? With HealthVana, we can see whether or not someone's actually seen their test results. And that becomes really critical because you can then help the contact tracers orient around who they should contact first. So if we're working with a municipality that's delivering 10,000 results a day, and let's say they have a really high positivity rate of like 20%, which is in some of the states that we're working with, that's actually where it is today. That means there's about 2,000 people that the municipality is going to have to reach out to, right? We help orient it where they'll start to call the people that don't yet know their status first. And with HealthVana, about 90% of people learn their results within the first few hours. So it reduces the burden on that municipality to notify people. And also patients are able to then know their status and then change their behavior as necessary.
You know, in one area that we keep hearing about from experts across the industry is we need to also continue to hone in on contact tracing and really understanding that. Does Healthvana and this technology, this expansion into COVID-19, is it helping with that as well?
Absolutely. First, the speed is everything. So getting results out to people fast is great. And then we're orienting, in some cases, the contact tracers of who to notify first, right? The people that don't know are the ones you have to get to first. But we're actually launching a new feature that we call digital contact tracing, and it's meant to be complementary to the contact tracers and is what we call tip of the spear. What that means is, Mike, if you get a positive test result through Healthvana, it'll say, hey, Mike, you tested positive. Here's what you're supposed to do about self-isolation. It'll have this additional section that we're going to be adding with some of the municipalities we're working with and different customers. And it'll say, share your status to save lives. Anonymously notify close contacts, and it would be defined on what a close contact means for that particular state, that you've tested positive by text or email. So you could put in my cell phone number or my email, let's say. I would then receive a notification, not from you, but from Healthvana saying someone in your network has tested positive. Here's a front of the line pass to get tested at the local drive-through, or please enter your mailing address and we'll send you a test kit at home. The idea there is that we're quickly notifying people that might have been in touch with people and not using Bluetooth or other types of methods. This is literally just you doing the right thing as a person in your community to notify others of your status in an anonymous way.
Wow. That is so cool. Inspiring. Thank you for sharing that, Ramin. Another area, a little more downstream, obviously, while we continue to battle this pandemic, is the vaccine and how we're going to administer that. Are there going to be a number of shots that we have to take as a patient? Do you see Healthvana going into that? Does this technology and what you're working on, does that play into where we're going to be going into this world of, deploying vaccines to hundreds of millions of people? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, our goal for a number of years has been to end HIV, and we're helping push towards that. Our goal now is to help end COVID-19 as well. And we're going to have a comprehensive platform with test results delivery, whether it's a rapid test right in person or if it's going off to a lab, whether your flu test information comes back, whether you have your flu vaccination. All of this should be on your phone in a way that you can share with an employer, a school, an airline. And COVID-19 vaccination is going to be obviously the most critical piece of that as that comes out. And so what we're already working with on certain municipalities, and we've spoken with some of the folks that are doing great work at Operation Warp Speed and folks at HHS, is this idea of a digital record of that vaccination. Almost all the vaccinations that we know of thus far, all but one, required 2 shots. So you can imagine going through a drive-through setting. I'll use that as an example. You'd get your first shot. You'd instantly have a digital record of that by way of Healthvana on your phone that'll show that, hey, Mike got vaccinated on this day with this particular manufacturer. And then it'll say your next time to come back for that second dose is going to be in either 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on the manufacturer. And we'll send you text message reminders and email in between to make sure that you come back and you have access to that. And once you get both doses, you'll then have that on your phone in a way that you can share that'll help you get back to your life in a way that's a little bit more normal than we have today.
Well, that's exciting as well. And let's get nerdy a bit on the tech side for just a moment, because I know our community is filled with some brilliant engineers and technologists. How does this play with our EHRs? Does it? Do you even have to, think about integrating or working with the Epics or Cerners of the world? You did mention that's obviously it's a HIPAA compliant platform, but any thoughts, ideas on what happens in regards to the world of the EHR?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can take the data on the dashboard I mentioned earlier on the administrative side. They have access to all of the data that they can download into a CSV and then start to ingest it however they want if it's one of the bigger EHRs. We're not doing direct integrations with those EHRs today. We've done direct integrations of the EHRs for years with our work within HIV, so we know how to do that. But like I mentioned earlier, speed is life right now, and we're letting them handle it on their side if they want. And a lot of the health systems that have reached out to us, big ones, they realize this is a different type of test result, and the speed at which they need to get this to patients has to be different than logging into, no offense, but a patient portal that looks like it's from Windows 95. Healthvana looks more like an Instagram version, right? That's easy to understand and work. Our administrative dashboard, thousands of people we've trained on it, meaning the administrators from these municipalities and such, they've learned in about 10 minutes. So everything right now is about speed and ease of use. And that's how we've thought about it thus far.
Well, I love how you're positioning it, and I think you're being kind with the Windows 95 hat tip there. It's some of those are just absolutely brutal, and I have no problem saying it. I'm going to ask a question because it's really for a selfish reason. Besides, dedicating my work to reimagining this healthcare industry, I am wildly passionate and just absolutely love traveling the world. And I am being completely deprived of that, as many of us obviously are. But it's the right thing to do is to stay home and stay safe. Where do you see this technology helping us get back to travel, business, pleasure, otherwise? What does that look like so we can get back to a little bit more normal way of living, and specifically around this notion of global travel?
We're already doing it. There's hundreds of thousands of people, patients per week using Healthvana to get on planes, to go back to school, to get back to work. And they're required to show their status, and Healthvana is helping them do that. That's only going to expand as we get further out the work we do, especially when we get to the different levels of vaccination. So it's going to be very much to each their own on how they choose to, handle their levels of risk. And everything's local. I mean, I know we're seeing a pretty big surge across the United States and across Europe right now, but everything is going to be hyper local in terms of what's happening and how you'll have to go about your daily life. But we see ourselves playing a pretty big role in that now. And hopefully that role doesn't last very long. I mean, our goal is to help end this as fast as possible. And everything comes back to making sure patients get access to that information really quickly in a way that's easy for them to understand. And then they can notify other close contacts.
Very exciting. And are you starting to see any interest outside of the U.S. for your technology? Are you working with any other countries or any other stakeholders outside of the U.S.?
Yes, there's been quite a bit of interest, and we've made the decision to stay domestic for the time being. There's a lot of work to do, and we want to help everyone, Mike. I got to tell you, it's really hard for us to say no when customers reach out or when we have different labs that reach out to us. We really do want to work with organizations that are handling really big parts of the country where we can impact the most lives the fastest. And so we've had to really orient around what we think makes the biggest impact with the people we work with.
And as a quick aside to our entrepreneurs out there and our startup innovators, I want to flag something that Ramin just said. It's a very key piece and sage advice for us, is to sometimes say no. Sometimes the best answer is a no, and to stay focused on the task at hand in order to push the mission forward and to build the company into what it can be. So sometimes as entrepreneurs, it is a hard thing to do, to say no, but sometimes it's the best thing to do. So thank you for sharing that as well, Ramin. Let's also talk about, where do you see some roadblocks, some speed bumps? Where are some things that maybe our community can be helping you with? What are some of those things right now that your team's grappling with that maybe we can be thinking through to help you out as well?
Yeah, good question. We have a pretty extraordinary team, and they've done an incredible job. And as you can imagine, with a company that's growing as fast as we are, I mean, our goal is really clear, to help end this, and we have to help more people to do that. That means our team has to grow faster. That means we have to build more robust technology. We have to build out our patient support into multiple languages. So we're handling quite a bit. You mentioned earlier, we've gone up to about 3 million test results delivered in a few months. And I anticipate that'll be in the tens of millions pretty soon, with not only test results, but also vaccination records. So it's the typical growth type stuff that you hear about what all technology companies go through.
And does that mean you might be raising a round of capital at all for the startup?
We've been bootstrapped pretty much since day one and raised very little money. So we'll look at that as all other options that we always do. But right now, we're pretty much focused on making sure we can just grow as fast as possible. Sometimes extra money can help. Sometimes it doesn't.
Oh, 100% agree. Absolutely. Well, to our community, think through where you might be able to offer up a hand to help Ramin and the team at Healthvana. They're doing incredibly important work, and let's rally around this need for our society, not just here, but for the entire world. This stuff is very important. So as Ramin keeps stressing to us, in order to get back to health again. And so thank you for sharing that. And then how can we be getting involved, Ramin? What's the best way for us to get involved? Now, remember, we have incredible healthcare administrative leaders here, people on the payer side, academic institution leadership. Where can we be helping you? Even entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, we even have patients listening in. Where can we be of best help to you right now?
Much appreciated. Spread the word about what we're doing. Not necessarily that they would hire us to come on board and do it, but just so they understand there's a better way to deploy information within this really sensitive time for COVID-19. So if there's anyone out there who wants to chat, whether you're a municipality, you run a lab, or you know people that run states, parts of the government, we're happy to talk to anyone so we can spread the word about how we're going about this. We've certainly learned a lot in the last few months, Mike. I mean, there was one case where one of the labs we worked with, had about a 10-day delay in delivering test results, which a lot of people in the country, I think, had gone through at one point. We got 200,000 inquiries over those 10 days from anxious patients.
Wow.
We've seen when municipalities use multiple labs, and then we become the single repository for one patient experience, all patient support, all admin for their side. We've certainly seen a lot of what's kind of happened in the country in this short time period. So anywhere where we can help offer our 2 cents on what we've seen, we're happy to do so. We're transparent about what we do. We share everything we've learned. This isn't about us trying to keep a competitive advantage. That's asinine at this time. Everything is about sharing whatever we've learned in a way that we can help whoever it is, wherever it is, if it can make an impact. That's what we're all about.
Well, let's talk about spreading the word. Where can we find all of this incredible work happening in your camp, Ramin, whether it be websites, social media handles, or otherwise? Where can we be finding?
Yeah, healthvana.com is probably the best place. Our Twitter account at healthvana is not a terrible place either. And then I'm somewhat active on Twitter at Ramin B. As you can imagine, both our Twitter accounts and even Facebook get hit up a lot by patients that are like, hey, where are my records? I have a plane flight in half an hour. I need to get on there, right? Those get used a lot for customer support. But our website is probably one of the best places. And if there's any questions people have, they can send the message to demo@healthvana.com. And then we'll get someone to kind of show everyone what's going on.
Excellent. We'll also be leaving all those contact points in our episode notes. So if you're listening from your favorite podcast player, simply scroll down and click on through to those contact points for HealthVana and for Ramin. Additionally, all of this information will be found over at passionatepioneers.com. There will be an entire article posted for this episode. You can leave comments there, questions, thoughts, or ideas, or otherwise, so we can continue to help uplift the incredible work Ramin is helping lead here at HealthVana. So again, passionatepioneers.com, or scroll down into your episode notes. Well, Ramin, thank you so much for taking a pit stop here with us today. I know how busy you are. It was a quick turn on getting you on the podcast, so I'm incredibly grateful for it. And we want to continue to help with this mission. We are fully aligned and we are fully supportive. If we need to come back and give an update to the community, don't be shy. Let me know. But for now, thank you so much for being with us today. Get back out there, continue to fight the good fight. But thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you, and thanks for the work you do.
Thank you for joining us today on Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. We'd love to hear your feedback about the podcast so we can continue to improve this community and to further support the pioneers being featured. Lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends and colleagues to join us. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you back with us during our next episode.